What if the greatest signs of emotional weakness are not the loud outbursts, but the quiet, invisible habits that drain your power every single day? True strength is not the absence of emotion, but a mind that has been freed from these silent tyrants. 7 Silent Signs You're Too Emotional. Stoicism, compiled and published by Stoic Dominion. Lesson 1. Hidden triggers behind overreactions. Imagine you are a highly trained soldier, a warrior, walking through a dense jungle. Your greatest threat is not the roaring lion you can see, but the small, silent, and perfectly hidden tripwire connected to an explosive device. The tripwire itself is insignificant, almost invisible, but the reaction it unleashes is massive, disproportionate, and devastating. This is the inner conflict so many of us face in our daily lives. We have a huge emotional reaction, a sudden explosion of anger, a wave of intense anxiety, a flood of despair that seems completely out of proportion to the small event that caused it. A mild comment from our partner leads to a furious argument. A minor setback at work leads to a spiral of self-doubt. The problem is that in the aftermath of these overreactions, we are left feeling ashamed, confused, and out of control. We ask ourselves, why did I get so upset about something so small? We start to believe we are just a dramatic or angry person, a flaw in our character. We see the explosion, but we are completely blind to the hidden tripwire that caused it. The first, most crucial step toward emotional mastery is to stop blaming the explosion and start searching for the tripwire. This is the first silent sign you are too emotional. The presence of hidden triggers behind your overreactions. This is the practice of becoming a master sapper of your own mind, learning to find and disarm the hidden triggers that cause your disproportionate emotional responses. The core Stoic principle here is that our passions and disturbances are not caused by events themselves, but by the judgments and beliefs we hold about them. The small event, the trigger, is often insignificant, but it activates a much larger, older, and more powerful wound or belief. The explosive charge. Your overreaction is not about the comment your partner just made. It is about the deep-seated belief that I am not respected, which that comment just happened to trip over. A Stoic warrior knows that to secure his kingdom, he must first map out all the hidden dangers within his own territory. To begin this essential process of self-discovery and disarmament, you must become a fearless investigator of your own emotional landscape. The first actionable step is to conduct a trigger autopsy. The next time you have an overreaction, wait until you are calm, and then take out a journal. On one side of the page, write down the small external event that you thought caused your reaction. Be specific. On the other side, ask the powerful question, what larger, older, more painful feeling did this small event remind me of? Or what core belief about myself or the world did this event seem to confirm? This is the search for the hidden charge. The second step is to name the connection. For example, when my suggestions are ignored in a meeting, the trigger. It touches my deep-seated fear of being invisible and unimportant, the charge. Making this connection explicit is a profound act of self-awareness. The third step is to offer yourself a moment of rational compassion. Acknowledge the old wound. Say to yourself, it is understandable that this old wound is sensitive. My goal is not to pretend it doesn't exist, but to heal it so that it is no longer a tripwire. The benefits of this practice are immense. You will stop seeing yourself as a crazy or overly dramatic person and start understanding the deep, logical, though often outdated reasons for your reactions. This understanding replaces shame with a sense of compassionate curiosity. You will begin to heal the actual root cause of your emotional volatility, not just the symptoms. Over time, you will find that the same small events that used to cause a massive explosion now barely register, because you have successfully disarmed the hidden charge. You become the master of your own jungle, able to walk with confidence because you know where all the traps are laid. Your practice is to think back to your last overreaction. Take 5 minutes and try to identify the hidden, more powerful belief or wound that the small trigger activated. These hidden triggers are often protected by a more pervasive and subtle emotion, a low-grade, constant fear. To get to the triggers, we must first learn to see this fog of fear that clouds our thinking. Next, we will explore the subtle fears that are clouding your judgment. Please subscribe to Stoic Dominion to begin this crucial work. Lesson 2. Subtle fears, clouding judgment. Imagine a wise and powerful king who must make a critical decision for his kingdom. He sits on his throne, ready to apply his reason and his experience. But unknown to him, a subtle, colorless, and odorless gas has been released into the throne room. This gas is fear. It doesn't cause him to scream or panic in an obvious way. Instead, it subtly clouds his judgment. It makes him see threats where there are none. It makes him overly cautious, causing him to miss vital opportunities. It makes him distrustful of his loyal advisors. He is still the king, he is still making decisions, but every single decision is being distorted and poisoned by an invisible influence he is not even aware of. This is the inner conflict of a mind operating under the influence of subtle fear. We often think of fear as a loud, obvious emotion, the terror of a physical threat. But the most dangerous fears are the silent ones. The fear of failure, the fear of disapproval, the fear of uncertainty, the fear of not being good enough. The problem is that this low-grade chronic fear acts like that colorless gas. It is a constant, invisible presence that clouds our every judgment. It is the silent sign of a mind that is not truly free. It is what makes us procrastinate on our goals, stay in bad situations, and fail to speak our truth. We are making our life's most important decisions while under the influence of a poison we don't even know we are breathing. The transformative solution is to become the king who installs a powerful air purification system in his throne room, to learn to recognize and dispel the subtle fears clouding your judgment. This is the second silent sign you're too emotional. It is the practice of bringing a sharp, analytical awareness to your own decision-making process to detect the subtle influence of fear. The core Stoic principle here is the ultimate cure for fear, the dichotomy of control. The Stoics taught that the root cause of almost all fear is our focus on things we cannot control. We fear the future. We fear other people's opinions. We fear outcomes. All of these things are external to us. A Stoic king trains himself to bring his focus back, again and again, to the only thing he can control, his own actions in the present moment. By focusing on making the most virtuous and rational choice right now, he liberates himself from the paralyzing fear of a future he cannot command. He cleans the air in his own throne room. To begin detecting and dispelling this invisible gas, you must become a vigilant observer of your own mind. The first actionable step is to practice the fear-setting exercise, the concept popularized by Tim Ferriss, but rooted in Stoic philosophy. When you are avoiding a decision or an action, take out a piece of paper. In the first column, write down the absolute worst-case scenario. In the second column, write down specific things you could do to prevent that outcome. In the third column, write down specific things you could do to repair the damage if the worst-case scenario did happen. This act of defining your fear often reveals how manageable it truly is. The second step is to question your hesitations. When you find yourself procrastinating, ask yourself, what am I actually afraid of right now? Am I afraid of the task itself, or am I afraid of a possible future outcome? Naming the specific fear is the first step to disarming it. The third step is to take one small, courageous action. The ultimate antidote to fear is action. Do one small thing that your fear is telling you not to do. This proves to your mind that the fear is a liar. The benefits of this practice are a profound increase in clarity, courage, and effectiveness. You will stop being a prisoner of your own subtle anxieties. You will find that you are able to make bold, decisive choices that are aligned with your goals and values, rather than choices that are dictated by a vague and unspoken fear. You will build a deep trust in your own ability to handle uncertainty. You become the wise king whose throne room is a space of pure, clean air, a space where clear, rational, and courageous decisions are made, free from the invisible poison of fear. Your practice is to identify one action you have been procrastinating on. Take 5 minutes to honestly ask yourself, what is the subtle fear that is causing this hesitation? Just naming it is a victory. These fears, if left unchecked, often feed into destructive, repetitive behaviors that slowly drain us of our life force. This leads to our next silent sign. Next, we will explore the silent patterns that are draining your energy. If you're ready to clear the air, please like this video. Lesson 3. Silent patterns draining your energy. Imagine your life force, your mental and emotional energy, is a finite reservoir of fresh water. Every day, you are given a certain amount. Now imagine that at the base of your reservoir, there are several small, silent, and almost invisible leaks. A constant, tiny trickle of water is seeping out, hour after hour, day after day. A single leak is insignificant. But over time, the combined effect of all these silent leaks is a massive loss of your precious resource. You feel perpetually tired, unmotivated, and depleted, but you cannot identify any single major cause. This is the inner conflict of a life being drained by silent negative patterns. We often look for the big obvious causes of our unhappiness or lack of energy, a major crisis, a difficult job. The problem is that, more often than not, our energy is not being lost in a single catastrophic flood, but in 1,000 tiny, invisible leaks. These are our silent, negative habits of mind. The habit of complaining, the habit of gossiping, the habit of ruminating on the past, the habit of endlessly scrolling through social media. Each instance seems trivial, but the cumulative effect of these silent patterns is a profound and mysterious exhaustion of the soul. They are a silent sign that our emotional life is undisciplined and out of our control. The transformative solution is to become a master plumber of your own mind, to learn to find and seal the silent patterns draining your energy. This is the third silent sign you are too emotional. It is the practice of bringing a rigorous and honest awareness to your own daily mental habits. The core Stoic idea here is that excellence, and its opposite, is a product of habit or ethos. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to guard his thoughts, knowing that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If your daily thoughts are a habit of complaint, your soul will be dyed the color of negativity. If your daily habits are a pattern of distraction, your soul will be dyed the color of chaos. A Stoic warrior understands that he is the product of his daily routines. To build a life of power and energy, he must be ruthless in identifying and eliminating the small, silent habits that are causing the leaks in his own reservoir. To begin this essential maintenance work, you must first find the leaks. The first actionable step is to conduct a negativity audit. For one full day, carry a small notebook or use a note on your phone. Every time you catch yourself complaining, gossiping, or engaging in negative self-talk, make a small checkmark. Do not judge yourself. Just collect the data. The sheer number of check marks at the end of the day will likely be a shocking revelation. The second step is to identify your primary escape pattern. When you are feeling bored, stressed, or uncomfortable, what is the one thing you automatically do to escape that feeling? Is it picking up your phone? Is it eating junk food? Is it turning on the television? This is likely your biggest energy leak. The third step is to choose one and only one of these patterns to focus on for the next week. Your goal is to simply reduce its frequency by a small amount. Don't try to fix everything at once. Just start by sealing the biggest leak. The benefits of plugging these silent energy drains are a massive and almost immediate increase in your vitality, motivation, and focus. You will be amazed at how much energy you had been wasting on unproductive and toxic mental habits. You will find that you have more power to dedicate to your goals, your relationships, and your own well-being. You are no longer living in a state of perpetual low-grade depletion. You become the wise steward of your own life force, who ensures that his precious reservoir is full, clean, and ready to be deployed for a worthy purpose. Your practice for today is to simply become aware of one of these silent patterns. Just notice it. When you find yourself complaining or automatically reaching for your phone, just observe the habit in action without judgment. Awareness is the first step to control. These draining patterns are often fueled by a powerful hidden engine, our own unspoken demands on the world. This is our next silent sign. Next, we will explore how unspoken expectations are fueling your frustration. To continue this journey, please subscribe to Stoic Dominion. Lesson 4. Unspoken expectations fueling frustration. Imagine you are a king who has secretly written a long and detailed list of laws for how everyone in your kingdom should behave. The problem is, you have never told anyone what these laws are. You just silently expect them to know and to obey. So when a citizen inevitably breaks one of your secret laws, when a driver on the road should have moved over, when your partner should have known what you were thinking, when a colleague should have done a task a certain way, you become filled with a righteous and bitter frustration. You feel let down, disappointed, and surrounded by idiots. This is the inner conflict of a mind ruled by unspoken expectations. We all walk around with a secret rule book in our heads for how the world and the people in it are supposed to operate. The problem is that the world has never seen our rule book, and it would not care if it did. The constant, grinding frustration, the disappointment, and the anger that plagues so many people's daily lives is not caused by the actions of others. It is caused by the gap between our expectations and the reality of those actions. This is a silent sign of being too emotional, because you are allowing your inner peace to be constantly destroyed by your own uncommunicated and often irrational demands on reality. The transformative solution is to become the wise king who burns his secret rulebook and learns to deal with the world as it is. This is the fourth silent sign. Unspoken expectations, fueling your frustration. This is the practice of taking radical responsibility for your own expectations and either making them realistic and communicating them clearly, or letting them go entirely. The core Stoic principle here is perhaps their most liberating insight. It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. Your frustration is not caused by the traffic jam. It is caused by your judgment that the traffic should be clear. Your disappointment is not caused by your partner's actions. It is caused by your expectation that they should act differently. The Stoic warrior trains himself to relentlessly examine and question his own expectations. He understands that every expectation he places on something outside of his control is a premeditated resentment. He chooses to either eliminate the expectation or to transform it into a reasonable, clearly communicated request. To free yourself from the prison of your own expectations, you must become an honest legislator of your own mind. The first actionable step is the next time you feel a surge of frustration or disappointment, immediately ask yourself the question, what unspoken expectation of mine was just violated? Identify the secret rule. My expectation was that there would be no traffic. My expectation was that my colleague would finish their part of the project on time. The second step is to apply the dichotomy of control to that expectation. Was this expectation about something within your control or outside of your control? 99% of the time, it will be about something outside of your control. The third step is to consciously release the expectation. Verbally say to yourself, I had an expectation that reality did not meet. I release this expectation. Now, what is the most rational and effective way to deal with the situation as it actually is? This moves you from a state of frustration with a fantasy to a state of effective action in reality. The benefits of mastering your expectations are a profound and lasting peace. You will find that the daily frustrations that used to torment you begin to lose all their power. You will become a far more effective and compassionate person because you will be dealing with people as they are, not as you wish they were. Your relationships will improve dramatically because you will replace unspoken demands with clear and reasonable requests. You become the wise king who has thrown away his secret, impossible rule book and now governs his own mind with a serene and pragmatic acceptance of reality. Your practice for this week is to catch one unspoken expectation in the act. When you feel that familiar frustration, find the should behind it. He should have. It should have. And then, simply let it go. Unspoken expectations about the present fuel frustration, but a deeper, more toxic emotion is fueled by our judgments about the past. This is our next silent sign. Next, we will explore the secret guilt that is blocking your inner calm. If you have found this valuable, please like the video. Lesson 5. Secret guilt. Blocking inner calm. Imagine you are a powerful ship sailing forward on a vast ocean, but unknown to you, a heavy ancient anchor has been secretly attached to your stern, its chains stretching deep into the dark waters behind you. You try to move forward, your sails are full of wind, but you are held back by an immense, invisible drag. You feel sluggish, heavy, and you cannot understand why you are making so little progress, no matter how hard you try. This heavy, unseen anchor is secret, unresolved guilt. This is one of the most subtle and powerful inner conflicts we face. Guilt, unlike anger, is not always a loud emotion. It can exist as a quiet, chronic, low-grade hum in the background of our lives. It is a persistent, unspoken feeling that we are somehow in the red, that we have a debt we can never repay, that we are fundamentally flawed because of a mistake we made in the past. The problem is that this secret guilt is an anchor to the past, and it silently blocks our access to inner calm in the present. It drains our energy, it erodes our self-worth, and it sabotages our efforts to move forward, all while operating from the dark, unexamined depths of our own minds. It is a silent sign that your emotional past is still the master of your present. The transformative solution is to become the courageous captain who is willing to dive into the deep water, to find the anchor and to cut the chain. This is the fifth silent sign: secret guilt blocking your inner calm. This is the practice of bringing your past mistakes into the bright light of your rational, present moment awareness and dealing with them with Stoic wisdom. The core Stoic principle here is that the past is outside of our control. It is, along with the future, the ultimate external. To be emotionally chained to something you cannot change is, from a Stoic perspective, a form of self-imposed torture. The only rational use of a past mistake is to learn from it, to extract the wisdom, and then to let it go. Guilt is the emotion that arises from the flawed judgment that I should have done better. A Stoic warrior looks at a past mistake and says, I did what I did with the knowledge and character I had at the time. The act is done. The only thing in my control now is to learn the lesson and to act with greater virtue today. To cut the anchor of secret guilt, you must become a fearless deep-sea diver of your own history. The first actionable step is to identify the source. In a journal, write about the past event that is the source of your guilt. Bring it out of the shadows and into the light. Describe what happened with objective, non-judgmental language. The second step is to perform a rational forgiveness exercise. You must separate the action from the self. The action may have been wrong, but it does not mean you are fundamentally and permanently a bad person. You must grant your past self the grace of having been imperfect and ignorant. You can write a letter to your past self, explaining the lesson you have now learned and officially forgiving them for their mistake. The third step is to make amends where possible and appropriate. If your mistake harmed another person, the most powerful way to release your guilt is to take a concrete, virtuous action in the present. Offer a sincere apology without excuses, or perform an act of service. This balances the scales of your own conscience. The benefits of releasing this secret guilt are like the cutting of a great anchor. You will feel a profound sense of lightness and freedom. The mysterious drain on your energy will vanish, and you will find yourself able to move forward with new speed and purpose. You will reclaim your inner calm, as the background hum of unworthiness will finally be silenced. You become the great ship, finally free from the invisible drag of the past. Its sails full, its course clear, ready to sail powerfully into the vast open ocean of your future. Your practice is to identify one small secret guilt you have been carrying. Perform the second step. Rationally forgive your past self for the mistake, acknowledging that you are a different and wiser person now. Guilt is a story we tell ourselves about the past, but it is just one of many invisible narratives that can control our lives. This leads to our next silent sign. Next, we will learn to see the invisible stories that are distorting your reality. Subscribe to Stoic Dominion to continue your journey to freedom. Lesson 6. Invisible Stories Distorting Reality. Imagine you are wearing a pair of glasses, but you have worn them for so long that you have completely forgotten you have them on. The problem is that the lenses of these glasses are not clear. They are subtly tinted and distorted. One lens is tinted with the color of pessimism, making the world seem darker than it is. The other lens is warped, making small challenges look like insurmountable mountains. You believe you are seeing the world as it is, but in reality, you are seeing a distorted version of it, a version created by the invisible lenses you are looking through. This is the inner conflict of a mind governed by invisible stories. We all have them. These are the deep, unconscious narratives and beliefs about ourselves and the world that we have formed throughout our lives. I'm not the kind of person who can succeed. The world is a dangerous place. You can't trust anyone. The problem is that, like the forgotten glasses, we don't see these stories as stories. We see them as reality. They are the invisible lens through which we interpret every single event in our lives. This is a silent sign that you are too emotional, because your feelings are not a response to the world as it is, but to the distorted and often negative story you are telling yourself about it. The transformative solution is to become aware that you are the wearer of glasses and to learn to take them off and clean them. This is the sixth silent sign: invisible stories distorting your reality. This is the practice of becoming a critical examiner of your own most deeply held beliefs. The core Stoic principle here is that our suffering comes from our judgments, our dogmata. These invisible stories are our most powerful and ingrained judgments. Epictetus taught that the work of a philosopher is to challenge these very stories. He would urge his students to treat every belief not as a sacred truth, but as a hypothesis to be ruthlessly tested against reason and evidence. The Stoic warrior is the man who has the immense courage to question his own reality. He understands that his emotions are a direct result of his stories, and so to master his emotions, he must first become the master of his own narratives. To begin this process of cognitive lens cleaning, you must first realize you are wearing glasses. The first actionable step is to identify one recurring negative emotional state in your life. Do you often feel like a victim, or anxious, or resentful? This recurring emotion is a clue to your dominant, invisible story. The second step is to work backward from the emotion to find the story. Ask yourself, what would a person have to believe about the world to consistently feel this way? If you constantly feel anxious, perhaps the invisible story is, the world is unpredictable, and I am not safe. If you constantly feel resentful, the story might be, my needs are never as important as others. The third step is to consciously challenge that story. Find evidence from your own life that contradicts it. When was a time I was perfectly safe in an unpredictable situation? When was a time my needs were met? You are deliberately creating cracks in the old, distorted lens. The benefits of this practice are the benefits of seeing clearly for the first time. You will be liberated from the emotional prisons created by your own outdated and flawed beliefs. You will find that the world is not as dark or as frightening as your old stories made it out to be. You will open yourself up to new possibilities and new experiences that your old lenses made invisible to you. You become the clear-eyed philosopher who has the wisdom to know that he does not see the world as it is, but as he is, and therefore takes radical responsibility for the clarity of his own vision. Your practice for this week is to try and identify one of your own invisible stories. What is a core belief you hold about yourself or the world that might be shaping your emotional reality? When you have learned to see and to question your own stories, you are ready for the final, quiet shift. You are ready to move from a life of emotional reaction to one of Stoic strength. In our final lesson, we will explore this path. To complete your journey, please like and share this video. Lesson 7. Quiet shifts toward Stoic strength. Imagine a great ship that has been damaged in a storm. Its rudder is bent, its sails are torn, and its crew is demoralized. The captain knows that the journey back to a state of perfect, seaworthy strength will be a long one. He does not attempt to fix everything in one heroic, dramatic effort. That would be impossible. Instead, he begins with quiet, small, and deliberate shifts. Today, he focuses only on repairing one small section of the rigging. Tomorrow, he and his crew will work on patching one small tear in the sail. The next day, they will begin the long work of slowly straightening the rudder. Each shift is almost unnoticeable on its own, but these small, quiet, and consistent shifts, compounded over time, are what will eventually transform the broken vessel back into a magnificent, unconquerable ship. This is the inner conflict we face when we decide to reinvent ourselves. We see the vast distance between our current, emotionally reactive self and the calm, strong Stoic ideal, and we become overwhelmed. We want a dramatic, overnight transformation. The problem is that true, lasting change rarely works that way. When we try to change everything at once, we inevitably fail, and this failure reinforces our old, invisible story that I can't change. We abandon the entire journey because we are impatient for a destination that can only be reached through 1,000 small steps. The final silent sign, and the path forward, is the embrace of quiet shifts towards Stoic strength. This is the 7th and final lesson. It is the understanding that a profound personal transformation is not an event. It is a process. It is the accumulation of hundreds of small, quiet, and often unseen choices and habits. The core Stoic idea here is that of the prokopton, the student of philosophy who is making progress. The Stoics did not believe in sudden enlightenment. They believed in the slow, steady, day-by-day work of chipping away at one's own vices and building up one's virtues. A Stoic warrior is not looking for a single glorious victory. He is focused on making a series of small, quiet shifts in his daily thoughts and actions. He knows that these quiet shifts, this patient and persistent work, is the only thing that creates real, unbreakable strength. It is less dramatic than a sudden revolution, but it is infinitely more powerful. To begin making these quiet shifts, you must adopt the mindset of the patient captain. The first actionable step is to choose your one thing. Do not try to fix your anger, your anxiety, and your bad habits all at once. Choose one single silent sign from this video to be your primary focus for the next 30 days. Perhaps it is simply noticing your triggers or practicing a daily breathing exercise. The second step is to focus on getting 1% better every day. Do not aim for perfection, just aim for a tiny, almost unnoticeable improvement. If you meditated for 2 minutes yesterday, try for 2 minutes and 10 seconds today. This Kaizen method of small, continuous improvement is the secret to all lasting change. The third step is to keep a progress journal. At the end of each week, write down the small, quiet shifts you have noticed in yourself. This week, I caught myself before an overreaction once. This week, I chose not to engage in gossip twice. These small wins are the evidence that your ship is being repaired, and they will fuel your motivation to continue. The benefits of this approach are that you will achieve a transformation that is not only profound, but also permanent. You are not building a temporary facade of calm. You are slowly and deliberately rebuilding the very structure of your mind. You will develop a deep and abiding sense of self-respect and patience. You will learn to love the process of your own becoming. You become the great ship, slowly but surely healing itself, its strength growing with each quiet, deliberate act of repair, until one day it sails back into the harbor, not just as it was before, but stronger, wiser, and more resilient than it has ever been. Your final practice is to choose your one quiet shift. Look back at these lessons and pick the one practice that you will make your sole focus for the next month. Commit to the slow, steady, and powerful path of the Stoic. The signs of being too emotional are rarely the loud explosions we see on the surface. They are the quiet, hidden cracks in our foundation. But a Stoic is a master architect of the soul. He learns to see these signs not as a verdict, but as a guide, a map showing him exactly where to build his unbreakable strength. Thank you for your dedication to this journey of self-awareness. The quiet work you do on your inner world is the most powerful and important work there is. If this guide has provided you with value, please like the video, comment with the silent sign that was most revealing for you, and subscribe to Stoic Dominion for more wisdom on the path to an unshakable life.